Hey, Broker Nation. In this episode, I have Simon LeFave. Simon's a mortgage broker with Get a Better Mortgage based out of Toronto. And Simon just came through our program and is a guy who's just literally on fire. I just love his energy and his enthusiasm. He's on pace to crush this year. And I just wanted to share with you his story and some of what he's been doing in order to scale his business. And I don't know if you remember, but I'm old enough to, back in the day, I remember getting one of these, these toys that were like a punch dummy, and you punch it and it would bounce right back. And I heard once that there was a survey done on what characteristic is most important in salespeople, and it's the positive attitude where they literally bounce back. And so Simon has this in spades. The guy is like just so positive, and something happens, he bounces back, no problem. I think you're really going to enjoy this episode with him. Also, this episode is sponsored by Pioneer West Acceptance Corp. Pioneer West is a private lender in BC and Alberta, and they specialize they do construction, they do private mortgages, and Style Stewart and the gang have sponsored us here at ILMB Mortgage Brokering for a couple of years now, and they're awesome, and the feedback from other brokers in the community has been awesome. So if you have a deal that is private or outside the normal, reach out to Styles. Those guys will take care of you. Tell them you heard about them from us because we love those guys, and check out this episode with Simon. How's it going, Simon?
Oh, awesome, Scott. Thanks. Just in the middle of some compliance docs. My Achilles heel.
Oh, those are so much fun, right? Like, I just love compliance. Hey, so what were you? So you've been in the business for. I want to just my first question I always like to ask is, so like, how long you been in the mortgage business, and then what were you doing before you got into the mortgage business?
I've been in the mortgage business for 8 years now. This is my second calendar year as a broker. I worked at a lender downtown Toronto for about 6 years, and yeah, before that, that's my first real job at university. So before my first professional job has been it's been all mortgages for me. So
right.
I was hitting the blocks.
How did you find the transition from working? So you were like an underwriter, or what were you do? What was your role at the lender?
I never made the jump to underwriting. I thought about doing it, but then I realized I'm really not good at that type of stuff. In-house brokering I was doing, retention, basically anything you name it. I mean, even when I started there, I was on Team Xerox and worked my way up.
Okay, cool. And then, so what made you decide to jump into becoming a mortgage broker?
I think it's the most logical next step to what I was doing before. Like I said, I thought about becoming an underwriter, but a lot of people kind of encouraged me to go, no, you know what, you should really become a broker. That's the next step. I mean, it's very challenging and everything. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, I should. And yeah, here we are. And I learned so much from working on the lending side those 6 years. So, I mean, if I didn't have that, then there's no chance I'd be a mortgage broker today. That's why.
Right. It seems like everybody has a different path into our industry. And it's great that you had the background of so you understand some lending stuff and but how was you make that transition? You're obviously salary, then you go to straight commission. So how was that? Tell me about your first year. What did that look like?
That looked like a whole lot of, not much the first 6 months. That's for sure. So I started I think I quit the lending side. It was July 2016. Between that and the start of 2017, not much was going on. I didn't know what to expect. I'm talking sleeping in till 10 o'clock in the morning, looking at a rate sheet all day, thinking I'm working.
That's what we do. That's all the mortgage brokers do. We sleep in till 10, look at rates.
Yeah,
going out of mortgage brokering.
Fire up some Seinfeld during the day, that type of stuff. We've all been there. So yeah, it was that. Basically, totally. The stuff that you shouldn't be doing when you first become a mortgage broker.
Right. So how was that first year? So the end of the first year, sort of making the transition, how did it go?
That first 6 months in 2016 was shocking. It's not. I've definitely learned a lot of what not to do. 2017 last year was a hell of a lot better. I kind of pulled up my bootstraps there and started doing work. I got I invested a lot of money in seminars and that sort of thing in the U.S. Last year was really good, actually.
Right. Okay, cool. And then, so how has this last year been for you?
Sorry, say that again?
So how was this last year? So 2018. So how has this year been going?
So basically, yeah. So what happened was in 2017, I probably did about 75, 80% of my business through refinances. 2018, I pretty much tapped all that out. So I'm really, really, really focused on the purchase business and developing relationships with real estate agents, which I've gotten really good at. And thanks to you, of course. And I'm lucky enough to work out of a Remax office here in Midtown Toronto. And I've learned so much about what these real estate agents want, what they need, and just how the whole system works. So this year it's definitely going to be the best year yet, no doubt about it.
Right, right. So, and what are some of the things that you're doing differently? Like, so, you came into our program in January, and like the thing I always loved about you is you're just like all in, full out, full throttle, and you just take the stuff and run with it. So what are a couple of the things that you have found have been really effective in terms of helping you build your business?
So really effective is this. Your phone has got to be. You got to look at it as your paintbrush. You got your wand, your rifle. You know what I mean? I'm on it all the time. Like because of Game of Phones, I don't need to leave my house until I make at least 10 calls, at least to new agents.
Right.
That's changed my whole entire. I mean, like I told you before, 5 o'clock in the morning, waking up, gym by 6, back home by 7:30. Calls done by like 9:30 or 10, and then I could start working on any files or mortgage stuff, not just straight selling, which is great. The whole reframing of why I'm a broker is a lot different. Basically burned all my bridges and just to make sure that I can't really do anything else, and I'm in it for the long haul. Otherwise, I could just work 9 to 5 and get paid 70, 80 grand a year, which is nothing wrong with that. But I think if you're a broker, you got to know why you're doing it, and you got to know where you want to be, and you got to have your goal set, which is something that's changed for me drastically this year in 2018.
Right. My wife, actually, I don't know if you knew this, but she started in the mortgage business 14 years ago. I started 12. And she'd always say is that if you don't want to make a minimum of 100 grand, you shouldn't even be in the mortgage business because you just go get a job. Like you can make like 78 with way less stress. So if you don't have that internal drive that you're like, I want to make a minimum of 100 plus, then because this career can do it, but you do have to put the work in, right? So
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So what kind of feedback have you been getting from the realtors with this new shift of focus and this new approach that you're taking?
I've talked to so many real estate agents this year alone. I probably don't, even this morning, Scott, before I came in here, I did I think I did 15 calls and I had about 10 conversations. The fact that, and when I go and meet up with them, the fact that I have a game plan ready to show them what they're going to get, what to expect it's unbelievable. A lot of brokers don't do what I've been doing now, and it's unbelievable. And they totally respect that because you know what, they're in the same position as us. They really just want to get the deal done, and the ones that the good ones do. That's all they care about. They just want to get the deal done, and they want someone who's personal and a go-giver actually, someone who's here to lend a hand.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, like in the real estate business, they have a listing present, like no good realtor doesn't have a listing presentation. Like they don't just show up and go, hey, they actually have a plan. And so one of the things that we think is valuable is you need to have like your realtor presentation. What are you going to do when you meet with them? Because otherwise we just show up, we make friends. And even if they like you, they're like, oh, that was kind of whatever. So I'm glad that you're doing that. And then in terms of the calling, so you've just blown it off the charts in terms of your calling. So how have you found like having a plan or a script for calls? How has that affected your calling?
Well, I know what to say, and you got to know what to say, and you got to say it with confidence. You got to say, and first of all, you have to. If there's anybody out there struggling with making outbound calls to real estate agents, first of all, don't think of it as, I know it's hard to get through. The best advice I could give you is know what to say, know what a rebuttal is, know when they're not interested, and just move on. Don't waste your time. The time thing is key. There's only 24 hours in the day, and you got to use them as a broker. You have to use them as much as realistically and most profitably as possible. So knowing what to say and tracking is key. You got to track every single day, and you got to go and you got to beat yourself from the day before. And you know what? And you don't, and if you look at it, if you frame it as a point of you're offering a service, and if some agent says, hey, I'll use you, just send me a deal first. Just drop the call. Don't meet with them. It's not worth it because they're begging for the scraps at the bottom of the barrel. There's 48,000 realtors in Toronto. There's good ones, there's okay ones, but the majority of them are just, they're not doing business. And if they're asking you for a deal, don't go that way. Because, hey, you could probably go and get that's not your job. You could go and get your own real estate license too and do what they do. That's not your job. Just remember that. And don't take any crap from anyone. Like, don't let them talk down to you. Like, you're a pro. Anyone can really go and get the real estate license. Anybody you went to high school with, barely graduated, probably is a real estate agent now. You know what I mean? And I'm not knocking the profession. I'm just knocking the ones who would who talk down to you. I mean, but obviously, like the referrals flow downstream, right? And they have to know that. If they don't, it's really important to know who you're dealing with, and also if you get a bad rejection, just never take it personally.
So how do you deal with that? So have you always been this way? Have you always been to be like, like in high school, for instance, when the girls turn you down, were you like totally, I'm just messing with you, were you totally like, oh, whatever? Like, so, or is this something you've developed over time?
No, it's definitely.
Yeah, all the girls are like, no, Simon, you know what? I'm busy. You're like, huh, what?
Yeah. No, it happens. That's a great analogy. It happens all the time. And I think it was Darren. It was Darren Hardy who said when he started off in real estate, he would he'd go door knocking. He'd have his little pad. He'd mark down 50 squares on his pad. Say, I have to go talk to 50 people, and I would look for rejection because he said it. Because if I know I'm getting rejected, that's just one less person that I have to deal with and talk to before I get a golden egg, before I get a yes. Like today, for example, I've been rejected 8 times since 10:30 in the morning. And I'm like, yes. I think it's kind of like a sickening thing that I have going on here, that I love it so much. But I also have 3 interviews next week. I have 3 interviews with new real estate agents next week because of that.
Right.
So it's just, and yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, if you're not going to do it, then you're not going to make any progress. If you're not going to, it's the same thing like in high school. If you want to go ask a girl and they said no, they go, okay, thanks. Just brush it off and head right back out again. It's not a big deal.
Right.
Do not take anything personally.
Right.
And you know what? There are people, like agents are people too. They're just normal. I talked to one lady this morning. She picked up the phone. She was gardening. I'm like, okay, cool. You like to garden. So I'll call her back later and be like, hey, how is the gardening going? Or they're just average people. They may be having a bad day. Maybe not. So they're just like you. And you know what? A lot of them, surprisingly, they do respect the hustle. They go, you know what? I have 3 broker relationships, and you got to go, okay, cool, don't worry about it. And they go, hey, but good luck to you. I really appreciate the call.
Right.
So frame it that way, and frame it as a way you're just calling a regular guy who has a real estate license. You're not calling like the UN Secretary General to get aid to a country that's burning and everyone's gonna die. No one's gonna die here, okay?
Right.
Like it's okay, it's cool. And the thing is, you keep building momentum day in and day out, and it's so hard to stop after that. And you look at what you've created after a while, it's like, wow, I've been actually absolutely crushing it. And now I'm kind of worried, like they're gonna come, like a flurry of applications are gonna come my way, and I'm not gonna know what to do except to hire an assistant. You know what I mean?
Right. That's a good problem to have. So
yeah,
it's all about the mindset. Like we'd say this all the time, but the story that you tell yourself, right? So if the story you tell yourself is, oh, please, like if you've got this sort of attitude, it's just the wrong place to start. But you're right. Like we're not calling Kim Jong. What is Kim Jong-un trying to convince him to put away his nuclear program? That's a high stress. This is just like, man, we're just talking to people and we're going to find people that we connect with. Yeah. And if we do, awesome. And if we don't, that's also cool too. Like, I love you. You've been rejected 8 times. You can't even tell by looking at you. Like I can't tell that you've been rejected 8 times. You look like whatevs.
Yeah, whatever.
That's so awesome. Okay, so like how's your year going so far? Like how's 2018 looking?
So basically, my goal this year is I wanted to 3x my goal. Last year I didn't hit my goal. I was about 4 million off. This year, I'm not on track to hit it. I've made some wild decision for the first quarter, but I don't know if anyone remembers the first quarter this year. It was, especially in Toronto, there was just no inventory whatsoever. So if you're changing your model from refinances to purchases and developing relationships, I kind of accept that it's going to take time, and I'm cool with it because, I mean, with this momentum I have going because of what I learned at Blueprint, Scott. I mean, you just got to trust the process, and there's no way that I can't hit my goal. There's still what, 2 quarters and a month left, month and a half left. So I'm behind, but I'm not worried. And even if I don't hit my goal, I'm still going to do pretty darn well.
So, but your goal though is not the same as last year. You're saying when you don't hit your goal, you're not saying it's not like you're doing the same numbers last year, right? You're still ahead of last year.
Exactly. My goal still is to do 3 times the volume that I did last year.
So, right. So if you, like, I just want people to understand, if you're saying, hey, I'm a little bit behind on my goal, but your goal is 300% improvement. So even if you only end up with 150 or 100% improvement, it still doesn't suck. Right?
Yes.
You're like, oh, I only doubled my business. No. Yeah. Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's struggling right now? So somebody's like, you know what, I hear you, I understand that, but like maybe they're struggling. What would you say?
Look, momentum is so key. If you're struggling with getting, like I said, the phone, you gotta that's your wand. You gotta know that. And I learned that from you, especially. You don't want to be spending your time, like, especially if you're new or if you're struggling, and be perfectly honest with yourself with how you're spending your time each day, and know you got to time block, you got to do that stuff, and don't give up on it. It's going to be messy at the beginning, and it's going to be great at the end though. And plan your weeks out every Sunday night. The thing about calling real estate agents is that it's not the phone calls that take long. It's the actual doing the recon that's the most work. So I would focus on recon, who you're going to call, who do you know is a reference point. That makes it a whole lot easier. I don't even remember the last time I did an actual cold call without saying, hey, I know him or so-and-so, and they recommended me to you, that type of thing. Makes it a whole lot better. And like I said, don't take it personally. It's really not a big deal. And don't be hard on yourself if you have a bad day. If someone says no, don't go cry in the corner like I used to do. I used to do that all the time, and it got me nowhere. and give yourself a pat on the back, because it's pretty awesome what you are doing. And I don't want to sound cheesy or anything like, oh, hey, it's Tony Robbins, but you do have to take it easy on yourself and be like, okay, if I made 5 calls today, just do 6 tomorrow. Right. And also don't just focus on the calls, focus on the conversations you're having too. And of course, focus on how many times you're actually asking for business with the ones you do have relationships for.
Right. You know, one of the things you told me, which I thought was hilarious, is that the real estate owner of your company is like, dude, he saw how you're working the phone, and he's like, you should come become a realtor. Didn't he say that to you? The guy Yeah. He's
trying to recruit me now because he sees I'm the one who does the most phone calls on his whole team, and I don't know, maybe he wants me to coach him, but yeah, no, that's just something else put in the old brag book. You know what I mean?
Right. You know, the cool thing about that is that if you learn how to do phone sales and how to make phone calls, that translates always. Like, that's not going away. I don't care about what technology's out there. At the end of the day, there's something about getting on a phone call with someone, having that connection and conversation. It scales really well, and it's not disappearing. So it's a incredibly valuable skill to develop, and you can literally write your own ticket, because all you got to do is just keep using the phone effectively and appropriately. You can grow your business. So it's awesome, dude.
It's the best part of my day, and the point is, I mean, I don't care what they say to me. I don't care if somebody says no, get missing, or get lost. Like, it really doesn't matter, because hey, there's another one right there. Right. And always it's serving. You're providing a service, and then don't take anything from anyone. And you also want to work with the people who are like you, who can mirror you, who are on the same level as you as well. Not everyone's going to say yes. If you think that you're going to pick up the phone and not get rejected, then you should probably cut the Prozacs in half, because that's That's unrealistic.
Yeah, but even somebody who wins an election, even in the U.S. or like half the people hate them, half the people love them. So that's you're only going to get 51% of people to love you, and you can become president, right? And that means the other 49% probably hate you. And so I think it's the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not even going to get a 50% average. So, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. No, I've never been at 50% ever. No chance. But hey, WIFM, right?
Yeah, that's awesome,
Think
dude.
about that.
I love that too. So, hey, any last words or something I should have asked you before you came on to chat about this? Anything you'd want to share?
I just want to share that the thing that I've learned the most this year is that you really have to learn how to use your time. It's really, really important. And you got to know that like what you're doing is you could spend all the time you want on like checking out rate sheets and doing that stuff and going to conferences and like, I don't even do that stuff. The only conferences that I would go to would be something to do with sales and something to make me actually get the deal in the door. Because I can think of a number of other ways how to spend my time as far as actually making sales and building relationships. And don't sleep until 10. Get up and know why. You got to start with why you're being a broker. Simon Sinek, start with why. TED Talk, classic.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good, dude. And Simon LeFave says the same thing. Start with why. And you heard it here first, folks. Well,
Yeah.
Dude, I appreciate your time and for your sharing and your energy. I wish I could bottle it. If I could bottle it, we could sell it like all day long. It'd be like, hey, just take some of this. People be like, boom, let's go. Rejection, I don't care. Boom, boom. Like,
this is great because it's huge accountability for me now. So now I got to go after it even harder. This is awesome.
Yeah, I know. You're gonna hang up you're gonna get off this call and you're gonna be like, holy crap! Like you were only coasting before. So, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, brother.
Thanks, Scotty.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode with Simon. If you are in the mortgage industry and maybe you're not having the success with realtors that you would like, maybe you're either not able to get them to do meetings or maybe they just send you garbage and you'd like to have a more successful business, reach out to us. We've got a program called 10 Realtors. And go to 10realtors.com and schedule a call with my team. We would love to chat with you and take some of the stuff that Simon went through, plus a few improvements we put into this program. So check out 10realtors.com. We would absolutely love to help you build a really healthy, strong realtor base for your